I am so excited because I have an awesome guest today that really means a lot to me. I grew up listening to him, and he's made some headlines recently for some not so great reasons. So I wanted to get him on the show, and I wanted to just talk about everything that he's doing. And everything he's doing right now, by the way, is super positive. He's a super positive guy. So Brad Fischetti of LFO, welcome.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Lauren. I thought you were talking about the guy behind you.
There we go. Yeah. No, also I was a little not in my right mind one night, and I found this artist on Instagram, and I'm like, "Hey, can you paint me a picture of Adam Sandler and Chris Farley?" And I know. I woke up the next morning, I Venmoed some guy cash that I didn't even know. Thank God it all worked out. So
All right, that's a story that needs to be dug into some more one day, but for now,
Isn't
we'll
this
shelve
insane?
it.
I know I'm cuckoo bananas. You're gonna learn I'm cuckoo. Jeff knows. And Brad and I talked about this, but Jeff Timmons, who I had another podcast with called Millennials Revealed, hooked Brad and I up, which I am just so thankful for because we both agree Jeff is a great guy. So,
Yeah, Jeff's a beautiful soul, and I hope he holds a very special place in my heart for sure.
and you guys, you're on tour right now with Jeff, technically.
We do play some shows together. I play a lot of shows with this Pop 2000 lineup, which is
Hmm.
usually Chris from NSYNC and O-Town and Ryan Cabrera, and sometimes Mark from Sugar Ray. And then Jeff is sometimes on the shows as well. So we did one maybe about 6, 8 weeks ago together, and got a couple more coming up this summer. But it's always fun to share a stage with him and spend time with him. He's such an
Yeah.
inspiring. He inspires me in a lot of different ways.
Oh, that's so nice. I think I'm gonna try to come. You guys, I think have one in Atlantic City. I'm in New York City, so it's AC is like 2 hours away, but I mean,
Yeah,
it's really fun to go there overnight and just like it is. Have you been to AC? I'm sure you have.
yeah. We played a couple shows there, but I haven't like gone there as a like as a destination or as a tourist.
You shouldn't. It's trash. Like it's like some of the venues are really nice and really beautiful, and a lot of huge shows play in Atlantic City because of this reputation that it had, in the 80s and 90s, and now it's kind of grimy. But if you want to go there and just act a fool and just act crazy, like it's the place to go. So I'm coming to that. So that's this summer. I think it's June. But I will confirm. So anyway, Brad, like I said, you've been making headlines because everybody has been coming at you and saying, like, I cannot believe a third member of LFO died. And you're sitting here and you're like, yes, this happened, but I don't believe in a curse. And I hope there's not a curse. I mean, are you still feeling that way?
Yeah. So as a lot of folks who know LFO know, LFO was three guys, right? It was me,
Hmm.
Rich, and Devin. And Rich passed away in 2010 after a 5-year battle with leukemia, and Devin passed away in 2018 after a short battle with primary adrenal cancer. And a month or two ago, a guy named Brian passed away, and like I said in my post, every story is made up of chapters, and Brian was a big part of the first two chapters. Um, we hadn't worked together in 25 years, but he was in the group prior to Devin. And when he passed, obviously there's the fact that somebody who you knew and had a lot of memories with is gone, which is sad. Then you think about his family, his father, his fiance, and that brings a lot of sadness. But then you start thinking about it like some of these people have like, wait a second, how is this possible that another piece of the story is gone? The story was already a tragedy. That's what I always
Mm.
tell people is the LFO story is a tragic story. And it just became more tragic.
Yeah.
And, you know, I did get asked in an interview if I believed in a curse, and I don't, because it's sort of a curse. I guess you could kind of relate to like karma, and
Mm.
and the issue I have with that is there's no room for redemption, and I believe in redemption, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you did this, so therefore this is going to happen. Well, how about you did this, make things right to avoid that other thing happening, right?
Yeah.
And so I do believe in the power of redemption, and and I do believe in trying to. I believe through great struggle comes great grace, and DMX once said, "To live is to suffer, to survive is to find meaning in the suffering." And
Mm,
so, for me, I can't control what happens to me, and neither can you, right?
mhm.
But we do have the ability to respond, and I've chosen to respond in the most positive way I can to try to be a light in the darkness. Now,
Yeah.
it doesn't come natural, and it wasn't easy. When Devin died, I went into a deep, deep depression. I went into the darkness. It was like somebody pulled a hood over my eyes, and I couldn't find joy in anything.
Mm,
And at the time, I had 5 kids. I have 6 now, and my wife said, "Listen, you got to do something. You can't live this way."
yeah.
And so I sought help. Now, a lot of us aren't vulnerable enough to admit when we need help, especially when it comes to mental health, especially when it comes to men, right? Men are usually not too vulnerable when it comes to their mental health. We're very focused on our physical health, right? We try to eat right or exercise.
Mm,
And there's less of a stigma on that kind of thing these days on mental health than there was, say, 10, 15 years ago. So I made a choice to try to get some help, and I did. I went to my primary doctor. He sent me to a psychiatrist. I met with my pastor. I tried to work out, tried to eat better, tried to spend time with friends. Eventually, I pulled through it. Now, not everybody has that person in their life that says, "Hey, I noticed this thing about you. Let's see what we can do to help you." So I was so thankful that people around me were willing to help, and I was able to make it through. And
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, you just nailed it though. I feel like when Devin passed away, nobody spoke about mental health. It was almost just like it was something that you kept secret, something that was sort of in the closet. So that takes a lot of courage to go out there and actually physically get yourself help. And I remember seeing this video that you and Devin did on YouTube. It was like he had just gotten something removed, and you guys were just, I mean, I recently watched this too, and it made me cry because you both like you were just so hopeful. And even Devin was making jokes, and he was like, "Oh, I just got rid of a tumor like that Tom Brady could throw around, like a football
No, no,
size."
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Like,
Yeah.
when we were sick, he had primary adrenal cancer, which is the adrenal gland is like this little tiny, like acorn shaped thing on the top of your kidney. It's like a one
Yeah.
in a million cancer, which I guess makes sense because he was a one in a million type of person. And, you know, I went on the appointments with him to the different surgeons who were going to be involved, and they gave us like worst case scenarios. Like,
Mm.
you wake up with I think they call it a coloscopy bag where like you can no longer
Yes.
defecate. It goes in this
Right.
bag. It's like all
Mhm.
these different stories, and the surgery's going to take 8 hours. And so we're all sitting in the waiting room, praying, trying to cry, laugh, just spending
Yeah.
time together. And then
Yeah.
the doctor comes out in like 2 hours, and we're like, he shows me this picture on his iPhone because we got it, and he took out the football was like this. Sorry, the football. The tumor was the size of a the tumor was the size of a football, and it totally hit engulfed his kidney. So they took out his kidney and they took out the tumor, and we thought it was curative. We all cried like,
Right.
"Okay, he's cured." They took out the tumor, so that's probably why in that video we were
You guys
so
seemed so,
positive.
yes, that's why I think a lot of people were like I think it was a few months later when he didn't make it. So you guys thought after the doctor showed you and it was only 2 hours, you thought like, great, this is it. He's done.
That's it. But the problem was it was stage 4,
Mm,
and we didn't know at the time, but it had spread to his blood and to his bones. And so when that was revealed, oof, and when he called me, man, I was like, it still
yeah.
just devastates me hearing him say it.
You remember exactly.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
so he went through, you know, the stuff people do when they have cancer. I took him down to the hospital, and he got a port put in, and then he had chemo, and chemo. It wasn't working. It wasn't making him feel good. So he moved on to immunotherapy after that, and he kind of bounced back. He looked like himself. He had energy,
Hmm.
but inside him, all hell was breaking loose, and it was spreading, and I'm not afraid to say he suffered.
Yeah.
he really suffered, and unfortunately, a lot of us had the experience of watching somebody we love suffer from cancer,
Yeah.
and he really did suffer, and it was heart-wrenching to watch it. I don't think anybody deserves that. But
I agree.
he always approached it um, in the way only Devin could, you know.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
even towards the end, he was still, you know, making music, sending me recordings. One time, I asked him how he was doing, and he responded
Yeah.
in a typical Devin way, like over text message. And then I took his words and put them into a poem, and then he responded with a song. It's a beautiful song that he just wrote off the poem. That's just sitting on his phone with a guitar, you know.
Really?
Yeah, really beautiful. It's called "Listen to the Warmth." I think it's actually still on Spot. I put it on Spotify with a song
Really?
that,
Okay,
yeah,
I'll have to
there's a song I
make note
wrote
of
for him.
that.
I wrote a song called "Ode to Harold" for him, and
Okay.
then I added that song "Listen to the Warmth." It's just him on an iPhone recording,
It's on if it's on
this.
Spotify, I think I can find it and I can play it. So I'll look for it
Yeah,
after.
yeah, it's
Um,
beautiful. It just really beautiful. So he was a beautiful soul, and it's when Rich died, it was devastating,
mm,
100%. Um, it was a little different just because I wasn't around him during, he lived in Boston. I wasn't with him during the time that he was getting treated and
the
everything
group was
going
on a
on.
break at that point. Am I right?
Yeah, I didn't
Okay,
even, yeah,
yeah.
I didn't even know he was close to death at the time because we reunited. He was diagnosed in '05.
Yep.
We reunited in '09 and did a tour together. And he was sick at the time, but well enough to, if he rested, he could get on the stage and do his thing. So we gave him the back of the tour bus. That was his lounge. And he rested during the day. And Devin and I would do press and we'd do sound checks. And then we'd help him get dressed for the show and help him to the stage. And once he got, in the middle of the stage,
Oh
he
my
was good.
God. I didn't realize all
Yeah.
that. Oh
Yeah. But
gosh.
he was still in rough shape, but he was able to rock the show, which he loved to do more than anything. And then
Wow.
probably about, I don't know, maybe 6, 8 months later, I'd heard that he was having some trouble walking. So I texted him one day. I said, "Hey, man, I hear you're having trouble walking. I figured there's no better way to get you out of bed than to book another tour. So what do you think?"
Yeah.
And he didn't respond. And then a few weeks after that was his birthday. I texted him, no response. And then a week later, I got the news that he had passed away. So it was devastating. And Devin and I just blew our minds. But I was thankful because I had Devin. He was living with me at the time. He was my best
Mm-hmm.
friend, and we
Mm.
helped each other get through that. When Devin got sick, first of all,
Oh,
Devin was the most healthy guy you'd ever meet. He's like a
yeah.
Timmons, totally fit.
Yes. Yeah.
So fit, takes good care of himself, eats right. Devin was a guy that lived with very little stress. Just amazing. So when he got sick, it was like, how is it possible? Like
Yeah.
Devin Lima doesn't get sick.
Right.
So just being there with him through the process was a really it was a horrible situation. But I'm thankful that I had the opportunity to be with him a lot during his treatment
Yeah.
and towards the end. And um, there's some losses you just never ever get over. You just have to learn how to get through it. And you think about, well, how would Rich want me to live? How would Dad want me
Mm-hmm.
to live?
Mm-hmm.
I try to remember that in my dark times that I got to try to do my best to live the way these guys would want me to.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I've interviewed quite a few boy band members, and I don't want to say there's a facade, but there's something that people always think like, oh, this group of guys, they tour together, they're always together, they're best friends. That is absolutely not the case for, I would
Mm.
say, almost every boy band, except
Yeah.
for you guys. I am just like, I am amazed and I am just shocked that you were actually genuinely that close and you genuinely loved each other that much. That's just so touching and just, it's almost surprising, you know?
Yeah, I would say, all the groups, they have obviously stay together as long as they have good relationships, but there's always junk. I mean, even with our
Yeah.
group, there was stuff you had to deal with that was really difficult.
Hmm.
Um, and I guess, you got Nick and Drew from '98 and they're brothers. So
Sure. Yeah,
that's
exactly.
probably sort of similar how me and Devin and I were. We were just We were like brothers.
Yeah.
And Rich too during our best days. You know what I mean? But like I said,
Hmm.
I've been away from Rich for so long. I hadn't
Yeah.
seen him before we reunited in '09. I hadn't seen him in a few years.
Yeah.
So, but we definitely, it's like I saw him every day.
Yeah.
But yeah, he truly was my best friend. He was like, you know, I don't know if the word soulmate exists, but like the
Yeah.
closest thing you can imagine to just this extraordinary, the closest relationship two men who are not a thing can have
I get
together.
it. I get.
You know what I
I
mean?
mean,
And so,
I can feel your I can feel how much you love him just even through this
yeah,
Zoom right now, which is really touching.
no,
Really
it's
touching.
I love them both a lot. And I pray every day and ask them to pray for me. To help me to honor them appropriately, help me to be a better singer, better rapper, better performer, better writer, better
Yeah.
philosopher. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
and
Yes.
help me to. It's an unfortunate honor to be left here to carry on a legacy, but I take it seriously. And my LFO mission is pretty simple: honor Rich, honor Devin, nurture the
Yeah.
legacy, and bring fans back to a simpler time. A time before marriages and divorces and money problems and work and kids and all this other stuff. Just take it 2 hours out of your day and just go back to when things were just a lot easier for most people. And so that's a
I
great
was
joy as well.
just saying this. I was saying I would give anything. I would literally, I hate this world right now. I hate that we can't say what we want to say. I like without being canceled or if we don't agree with, I hate it so much. I just said, take me back to the mall when I was buying the Summer Girl single for $3.99, the money I saved. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
take me back to that. Like, you guys, you obviously don't remember, but I'm from Manchester, New Hampshire. But there was this
Yeah.
theater
Yeah.
and there was this Hanover Street. I skipped school to go see you guys and I cried. I cried and cried in the front row. I remember it like it was yesterday and I was like, I didn't even know how good we had it when nothing
Yeah.
mattered except for just like regular life. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like,
No, you're right. I mean,
yeah,
I went to see that movie about the Air Jordans. I think it's called Air.
yeah.
And you know, all '80s, which is my childhood.
Mm,
I mean, I look back and go, man, the '80s were awesome. The music was great. TV shows were awesome. Movies are awesome.
yep.
Sports was amazing.
No one was
And just
sensitive. Like it was fine. I mean,
yeah, I mean, it's we were definitely living in a very difficult time. It's a very divisive time, and that's the thing that kind of breaks my heart too. Is like somebody was texting me the other day, some financial article,
mhm.
and the guy who this particular guy was part of one particular party, and it's like maybe not the party we relate to, but it's like we both reminded ourselves like that's how we look at things. Like just
Mhm.
because you're part of this party doesn't mean that you can't be smart into like it's like on both sides of the table there's really
Mhm.
smart people. Now there's certain aspects of each party might align with, but it's like we don't have to be so divisive.
I
We can
know.
we can appreciate the strengths of all people, not just the people who are so tightly aligned to the things that we believe. So it's a tough
Yes.
time. I agree, which is why I think music is great because it's an escape from that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, people
So
will make
some
things partisan though. It's so stupid. People will make music
no,
partisan. They made Kanye, you know what I'm
well,
saying? Like you can't, it's so
well,
hard now.
yeah, and there's some musicians who choose to use their platform to discuss their political agenda, which is fine. That's a personal choice.
Hmm.
For me, especially with us being more like a nostalgic group these days, I just want to be a break from all that stuff when I'm playing a show.
Yes.
If I'm gonna talk about anything that I want you to think about, it's having faith in God and seeking God, whatever religion you might
Yeah.
be. You know what I mean? That's kind of
I
the only
love
thing I might
that.
stand up and say. But all the other stuff, sports should be the same thing for me. Sports should be an escape from the realities of today's world, and sometimes they're not, but at the end
Yeah.
of the day, we do have to learn to just have respect for each other. I've definitely learned that a lot. That you can't put people in a box and try and tell them how to be or how to live. Same thing goes for faith. You can't. It's
Yeah.
not caught. It's not taught. Faith is caught. And so you can't
Yeah.
shove it down somebody's throat. Just like you can't shove your ideology down someone's throat. So
Yeah.
I
I
believe that people
agree.
should have the freedom to to believe what they want to believe and think what they want to think and dress how they want to dress, and
Mhm.
it's not my business, you know. As long as it's not, extraordinarily harmful to other people, then let people live.
I agree. I think we're aligned on that for sure. And I think that you personally, I think what you've been through, I don't see a way that you could have gotten through this without a personal relationship with God or a personal relationship with Jesus, because this is just something that most people don't really have to experience in their life. And something that a lot of people don't realize on the outside is that it wasn't just your best friends that died. It was, you dealt with a really crooked head of a record label. What was his name? Lou Pearlman. I mean, he completely fucked you guys. Excuse my language. Your keyboard player died. I mean, you had so many people just around you. You had death surrounding you guys. So
Yeah, yeah. I
yeah.
mean, and this lady Kelly Schweinsberg, who ran this small label under BMG in the United States called Logic Records. She's the only reason why we had a chance to make it here. She died young as
Oh,
well,
wow.
back, 20 years ago. Um, so yeah, it's the LFO story is really it's a tragedy. It's quite a compelling and extraordinary story. Sometimes I don't realize it because I'm living it.
You
But
are.
when I stop and look from the outside, where people like yourself, kind of run through the event, it's like, wow, that's
That was
even if you don't
crazy.
like boy bands, even if you don't like music, it's still a compelling story. And so,
Because it's
like I
almost
said,
unbelievable. That's why. It's
yeah,
almost
it
unbelievable. It's almost too like, what? I mean,
yeah,
yeah.
it is. It's a crazy, crazy story. Even the stuff that people don't know, it's just a crazy story. And there's some days, honestly, there are some days where I wish I just would have just done normal things after high school. Went to college, became a gym teacher and a baseball coach, and just, you know what I
Stop.
mean?
I get it,
Um,
but no, no.
no, but I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not that person who I can't live with regrets, because if I say I regret something, then I say I'm not happy with where I am, and I am happy with where I am now. Do I wish I could have gotten here without some of the mistakes that I made, or gone through some of the trials I've gone through? Of course,
Yeah.
but I think some people have to learn the hard way, and I was one of those people who had to learn the hard way. And I'm thankful to kind of know what I know, and I'm at a point in my life where just try to do my best to stay close to God, stay close to my family, try to
Mm.
make good choices, try to discern what God's will is for me in my life, and try to be a light in the darkness.
And you are. I truly
Mhm.
believe you are, Brad, for real. I wanted to ask you, when Brian died, you had mentioned in your Instagram post something along the lines that you had a somewhat complicated relationship. Do you mind just disclosing maybe if you guys fell out or you had a falling out, or what was so complicated about that?
Yeah, I mean, our relationship was tough for most of the time that I knew him. We were
Mm,
together in a group for 3 years. But we had a couple of talks that I would say you know kind of made amends. Right at Rich's funeral, we had a good talk, and then maybe 5 years after that, he called me. We had another good talk, and so we
okay.
communicated every so often over text message. But um, we definitely had a tough relationship.
Was this because he left the group when you were sort of ready to get moving on everything that you had worked for and he just kind of left abruptly, or some?
No, our relationship, it was complicated, and honestly, what I just try to focus on with him is that I'm appreciative of the efforts that he made in the first
Mm,
two chapters of LFO, the hard work and dedication. I definitely learned a lot from him. He sacrificed a lot to follow his dream, and if he hadn't done that, then I might not have the opportunity to have achieved my own goals and dreams. And
yeah.
so I was deeply saddened by his loss,
Mm,
and it's still really hard to believe. Um,
yeah.
and at this point, um, you know, I just believe in honoring the dead, and so I'll pray for him and his family, and try to focus on positive aspects of our relationship and our time together.
That makes perfect sense, and I respect that. Are you in touch with Devin Lima's children? I think he had 6 children or something like that.
Yeah, his fiance and I are friends, and I'm the godfather for two of the kids,
Oh,
and
that's so nice. Oh my gosh.
yeah, it's I probably don't do a good enough job of keeping up, just because I've got six kids, and I'm pretty busy,
Dude, you're
but
doing the best you can. I mean, we all are.
but
Don't give yourself,
no, but
yeah.
every year for Christmas, um, the fans come together, and we usually try to help her out with Christmas gifts for the kids. So that's been
Oh,
something we've been doing since he got sick. So I think the first year we did it was like 2017, and actually the first year he was in the hospital on Christmas,
oh,
and we made Christmas happen in the hospital. So
mm.
that Christmas Eve, at the church, I did a midnight mass, and then afterwards, I changed into my Buddy the Elf pajamas, and Floyd, our drummer, put on a Santa costume,
Oh my
and
gosh.
we got these luggage carts, and we carried. I'm telling you, like we had 2 luggage carts full of gifts. We had like I had to bring a couple people from church with bicycles, and
Mm.
we rolled through the ICU at like 2 in the morning at the hospital, and we hung stockings from bungee cords in his room, and the next morning
Oh.
they had Christmas morning at the
Oh.
hospital for him and the kids, and yeah,
Wow.
it was really a beautiful experience. And so every year, we try to do the same and try to get some gifts for the kids and make life a little bit easier, and remind
Yeah.
them how much Devin was loved.
Yeah, and I'm sure Devin is just so appreciative. I really believe
Mhm.
that. I really believe that he is so thankful for you. Um, something you mentioned that I didn't even realize either was that when you were on tour and Rich was sick, physically all he was capable of was doing the show, and that was it. Were you guys, did people wonder like where Rich was when you guys were doing all this press, or like that seems right?
Uh,
You're missing a person. They probably were a
yeah,
little confused.
I think we just explained that, that people knew his journey, that he had been battling leukemia, and at this
Hmm.
particular juncture in time, he wasn't in great health. So
Yeah.
it just made sense for him to be able to just rest and focus on the show. It's not
Yeah.
unusual for each guy to not show up to sound check. Some bands,
Okay.
they don't show up to sound check at all. They just send their tech guys to do their sound
Oh,
checks. You know what I mean? So
okay.
that wasn't too
Okay.
unusual. And we actually had one show on that tour. He just was too sick to play, so we had to play it without him.
Oh,
Um, but
gosh.
I'm so glad we did that tour, because we became closer than we had ever been before on that tour, and we really realized how much we loved each other. And
Yeah.
financially, it wasn't a great. I definitely lost money on that tour, but I'm thankful. Yeah, yeah,
Right.
I, I'm thankful that we did it, because Rich had a chance to tour for one last time,
Yeah.
and we became really close. And in 2017, when Devin and I brought LFO back on the road, partially thanks to Jeff Timmons, because the year before, Jeff Timmons and I were texting back and forth, and he said, "Hey man, we're on this Y2K tour,
Yeah.
and we honor you guys at every show." I said, "Oh well, if you ever want me and Devin to come out and do a cameo, just let me know."
Yeah.
He said, "All right, pick a date." And so I was looking through the tour dates, and they were playing at Coney Island, and that's where we shot the video for Summer Girls. So Devin and I
I
flew
didn't
up.
realize that. Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
we flew up. We did our part, which is like 30 seconds long. The crowd went bananas. And I remember walking off stage with my arm around Devin, saying, "Man, that was a cruel joke." And
You're crying.
3 days later, I got a call from an agent asking if we would consider bringing LFO back on the road. And so,
I'm literally crying. I'm
yeah,
literally crying. I just can't. I can't.
yeah. And so I spent a whole lot of time on my knees in prayer
Yeah.
about, is this, I tried to examine, what are our intentions? Where's our heart at? The intentions were clear and the heart was pure. It was opportunity
Hmm.
to honor Rich. There's an opportunity to bring fans back to simpler time. And then obviously with us with 10 kids, it was like an opportunity to perhaps support our families a little better.
Yes. Yes.
So we did the tour, and I drove the tour bus, and we slept on the bus at truck stops, and it was
Wow.
grueling, but it was so much fun, and it was amazing. And we were making plans for the next leg of the tour when Devin got sick, and
Wow.
yeah, it was totally out of the blue yeah, on that tour. He's crazy. He was so agile. He was like a cat. He would stand
Yeah.
on the edge of railings and jump off speakers, and
My God.
he was doing all that with a tumor the size of a football in his belly. It's
And he didn't
crazy.
even know. He had no idea that.
No,
Oh
no.
my, and this is, I'm just thinking, I mean, just your whole persona and your whole, you got this vibe, right? It's a very comforting vibe. It's a very zen vibe, very chill. I don't want to say you're shy. I wouldn't necessarily describe you as shy. I'm trying to think of the adjective, but just speaking to you now, I never you're very humble, you're down to earth. Watching you as a kid and seeing your videos, and I'm thinking, when you said the Summer Girls video, I'm just thinking of it. I don't think I would have thought that you would be like this. You know what I mean? I don't know if you've changed throughout the years or if you've always been, but like, I don't know how I thought you'd be. I'm not
Yeah,
sure. I'm not sure.
it's funny. My wife, a lot of times, if she comes to the show,
Mhm.
she's like, "Who are you?"
Yeah,
Like,
like you turn on this like really not like cocky, but like you've just got a lot of confidence up there, obviously. And it's like you belong up there. And now it's different. So
I think, some people, what you see on stage is what you see off the stage, right?
mhm.
And in my case, it's different. Like you said, I'm pretty mild mannered off the stage.
Yes.
And when I get on the stage, especially now with those guys being gone, I kind of treat it almost like a battle, you know.
Mm,
I try to
yeah.
obviously I try to have fun and 100%, but when I get really emotional, I have to flip those emotions into almost anger, and try to treat it like it's a battle,
I
And
mean, do you ever yell? I can't imagine you yelling. That's the thing. Like when you get mad, I feel like your voice, you're like, come on, God. Like you yell at your kids. I'm just wondering. You're
nah,
so chill.
you know, my first two, they're teenagers now. I don't think I yelled at them at all.
I
My younger
believe
ones, I have a almost 6-year-old who requires some yelling
it.
sometimes, which I'm not used to. I'm not used to, but I, you know,
Is it a boy?
I
It's a boy, right?
yeah,
Yeah, I knew it. They're so little boys are so annoying. Okay.
I try to, I try to stay really quiet and calm and just
Mm,
kind of talk to him quietly about stuff. But then sometimes he won't react until I have to yell. And I'll say to him, say, listen, you get me to the point where I'm gonna have to yell at you.
yep,
And
yep.
he doesn't like that. I don't like doing it,
I know, but
but
sometimes
no,
you
yeah,
gotta.
yeah, but otherwise, yeah, as you said, I'm a pretty calm person, but on stage it's different. You're doing something different,
Yes, yes.
and I enjoy that opportunity to be on the stage and to help nurture that legacy.
Yeah, and now I feel like I've just emotionally drained you at this point. So just to close things out, do you have a memory of you and Devin and Rich, just a really happy one that maybe people are not aware of, or a story that no one's heard before, just about the three of you guys?
One of my fondest memories, which actually I posted on YouTube years and years ago,
Mm.
is we were on tour maybe like the year 2000 or 2001. We had two tour buses, one for us and our tour manager Mike Caputo, and then one for the band and the crew. And we stopped somewhere. I don't know. It could have been Tennessee, could have been West Virginia, someplace in the middle of nowhere, at a Waffle House, and we took over the whole Waffle House. We started, like, we were cooking, we were serving, we were taking the money. Like, our keyboard player was flipping eggs, and Mikey Poodle
Wow.
was cooking bacon, and Rich was doing the cash register. And
Yeah.
it was
People were dying. Were
so,
they like flipping
uh,
out?
yeah, yeah, it was so much fun. It was, people were walking in like, what on earth is happening here? You couldn't do that these days, I don't think.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it's one of my fondest memories of being with the guys was doing that. It's really hilarious. And Rich, I tell people at the shows, Rich was one of the greatest rappers to ever live, but he was also one of the funniest people on the planet. I mean,
Jeff said
and
that too. He said that as
yeah.
well.
Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
you can see some of the clips from that Mission Man Band show they did. Um,
Yeah.
Rich, his famous line was never let a few facts get in the way of a good story, you know? And nobody could tell a story like Rich. And I think he gets that from his dad. His dad is similar, not quite as like um, outlandish or jovial as Rich, but a
Yeah.
good storyteller. And
That's funny.
Rich, man, you know, and once he could sense that he was getting a reaction, then he would just like step it up, and he would just control the whole room with his hilarity. And I definitely miss his smile, and I miss his humor a lot. Um,
Yeah.
you know, it's like um, when I have when I'm on tour with Chris from NSYNC and Mark from Sugar Ray, it's almost having them two together is kind of like having a Rich back, you know, because
Mhm.
they're both really funny guys, and the
Yeah.
combination of the two of them together,
Yeah.
yeah, is it reminds me of having Rich back in the room, which is really cool.
That's that's literally the nicest thing I've heard. Oh my
Mm,
gosh. Wow. Well,
mm,
Brad, thank you so much. This has been so amazing for me. I mean, this literally just
mm.
talking to you has just made my life really, truly. I really appreciate it. I mean, when I wrote this article the other week for Nikki Swift, I was crying. I was like, I just there was so much I didn't know about you guys and just about your journey. So and now I feel like I know even more. So thank you for sharing. Do you want to plug anything else while people are listening?
No, you know that's the kind of the freeing things of doing
Yeah.
press these days is I'm not trying to sell anything, you
Yeah.
know. I'm just I'm happy to talk to anybody who aligns with my mission of honoring the guys. And
Yeah.
I guess the one thing that you could say we're promoting is the fact that there's a whole bunch of shows coming up this summer, the
Yes.
Pop 2000 tour. And if people are interested in seeing what I'm up to with my mission, um, you know, the social media handle is the real LFO, and that's where I'll be.